All right, class. First off, is always good day. I'm glad you're here. So today we are going to be finishing off the Bill of Rights. We're going to go through Amendments 6 through 10. Okay. Now I'm going to warn you, the Sixth Amendment is pretty long because there's a lot of stuff in there. But after that, the seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th go by so quick. Okay. So just bear with me on the Sixth Amendment. Okay. Because again, there's a lot of good stuff on there. So the objective today, we're going to examine the significance of the Sixth Amendment and create an argument on why the Ninth and Tenth Amendment were truly needed. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with your warm-up. So the question is asking you, what do you think this artist is trying to say about the death penalty? So look at the two options and then look what this guy is saying. And so what do you think? Okay, what do you think this artist is trying to say about the death penalty? So write your response, pause the video because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so the Sixth Amendment says from the Constitution, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and the district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and causes of the accusations, to be informed or to be confronted with the witness against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Now, before I break this down, I know some of you guys might look at this paper and be like, wait, something's off. I did make a mistake. Some people in class mentioned it. I was going to make the repairs, but I don't have the papers with me, so I don't know where the error was. So I do apologize for that. But just follow along, and wherever the spots are that's missing, fill in it, okay? So, the first part of this amendment, the speedy and public trial. Now, speedy does not mean like right when you're arrested, like a day later, you're going to have your preliminary, and then a day later, your trial is going to begin. No, 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 no. Guys, even in a perfect world, that doesn't give your lawyer and the prosecution enough time to set up their case, you know. So yeah, it's not like let's get this over with. It's not like that. Okay, and you have to remember too. Back in the day, the reason they did this is because back in the day, kings and queens used to hold people in jail for like basically forever, telling them, "Oh yeah, your trial's coming up. Don't worry. Oh, it's coming soon." And they can keep them in jail forever as long as they want it. So it's like, no, no, within a reasonable amount of time, yes, you have your preliminary where you're saying if you're innocent or guilty, then bail and things like that, and then your trial sometime later. Okay. The other part is the public trial. Okay. Because again, back in the day, they would tell people like, oh man, yeah, your husband's trial. Oh, you know what? We had it yesterday. Didn't anyone tell you? Yeah, yeah, it was yesterday, and yeah, we found him guilty. He's dead. Yeah, you know. So now trials are in public. People get to see if a person really did get justice. Now, you as a citizen, you have the right to sit in on a trial. Now, can you take popcorn and soda and stuff like that? No, absolutely not. But can you sit there and listen and observe and things like that? Absolutely. You have that right as a citizen. Even if you don't know the people, you can sit in there and listen to the trial, hear the judge and all this stuff. You have that right. Okay. Now, heaven forbid you get arrested for something and you go to trial. Now, the jury, they're supposed to be impartial. What does that mean? Basically means that they I don't want to say they don't care about you, it's just that they don't know you, so they don't have anything against you, or they're not like your Theo or Thea, so they're not gonna be like, oh, he's innocent, even if he did shoot somebody, it's all caught on video, so that's not him, you know, that they are like neither for or against you, they're just neutral. Okay. And your trial is going to happen where the crime happened. So if it happened in Fresno County, it's going to happen in Fresno County. If it happened in Tulare or Kings or Kern County, that's where it's going to be. Now, here's the thing. Can your trial be moved? Yes, it can. So here's how it could change. Let's say you're driving through LA and you accidentally hit somebody and this person dies. If that person's like a well-loved person in like LA, like a well-respected person, things like that, chances are you're not going to get a fair trial down there because if they're well-loved and well-respected in the whole, LA area, you're not going to get a fair trial. So they might move it not in Fresno because that's where you're from. They might send it all the way to Sacramento, in that Sacramento northern area. Why? Because that's an area where the victim is not known and you, chances are not known up there. So those people are going to be like, okay, I don't know this person. I don't know the person who got hit. So let's hear the facts and then um, decide if this person is innocent or guilty. Okay. Now, the next part is when you do, let's say you do get arrested, you will be told what you're being charged with. They'll tell you you have you're charged with the murder of, accessory, aiding and abetting, battery, assault, whatever. You're told what you're being charged with, while you're being arrested. Okay. Now, this next part is confront the witnesses against them. Yes, if someone says I saw, so and so beating up kids with a baseball bat and choking puppies, you know, then that person might get arrested. And if they do have a trial, they get to see who accused them. Okay. Now, here's the kicker. If you accuse somebody of doing something to you, let's say someone did something horrible to you, they tortured you, things like that, la la la, and you're the witness against them. If you do not show up, if you're the one making the charges and you do not show up, that person's going to get away with it because again, they have the right to the witness who accused them of this crime. Okay, so yeah, you if you are being like subpoenaed and things like that, you got to show up to the trial. You got to show up. Okay, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So don't just skip on it like, well, I don't want to. If you are subpoenaed, you got to show up. Okay. Now let's look at the flip side. If you are being prosecuted, being charged with something, you get to call witnesses in your favor. So let's say this, they say, oh yeah, you're being charged with choking puppies. Okay. You could have people saying, no, 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 I know this person. They are an excellent person in the community. They help the little peoples in the neighborhood take out their trash. He cuts their lawn, things like that. Um, but the problem is a lot of people, when they go to trial, they'll ask somebody to be their character witness, and a lot of times those people have murky backgrounds. They're drug dealers. They're in trouble with the law. They've been with assault, or battery, or aiding and abetting, or whatever. So if someone has a spotty background, the prosecution's going to find that, and they're gonna, basically make the jury believe like, hey, your words doesn't mean much because you had this shady background. You want to get people who have a clean background. So the prosecution, they try to attack them, they have nothing that sticks because that person's squeaky clean. You know. The last part is assistance of counsel for your defense. Basically, just like the Miranda rights says, you can't afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. That's what they're talking about. Okay, so you do get some counsel if you can't afford an attorney. Okay. Now, the Seventh Amendment. In suits at common law where the value of controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. All right, so the first part, you get the right to a trial by jury. Okay, you do. They can't say, "Well, no, we're not going to have any jury for this crime." For your case. No, you get to have that right to have a trial by jury. Okay. Now here's the thing. Originally, it was supposed to be perfect, the jury system, that impartial jury members were going to come sit down, hear your case, and based off the facts, decide whether you are innocent or guilty. Okay. But here's the problem. And then, with that being the case, there should be no other court cases because they heard your case, you got a fair trial, and you were found guilty, or innocent. But here's the problem. We've come to find out that jury members bring in their prejudices. You know, they do bring in their prejudices with them. So when they say, "Do you know this person being accused of this crime?" No, I don't know them, which is true, but they may not like the way they look, or have some prejudice against that person's, color, their religion, that it could be social thing too. This person's, they're poor people, I'm rich. It could be, oh, they're from that side of town, I'm from this upper side town, other side of town. It could be a lot of prejudices, and people go into the jury box with those prejudices, and we come to find out that innocent people have gone to jail. That's why we now have the appeals process. Okay, so if there is somebody who is in the jury who basically says, "Yeah, I put that fool in jail. I'm glad because him and his people, la 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 la, they this and that." Now your lawyer can basically point that out, saying, "Hey, this jury member had an agenda from the beginning. He used prejudice, so my client deserves another trial," and that's something how they can get it. Okay. The next part. Excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Excessive bail. So let's say you were drinking, you knocked down a bunch of posts, on the street, things like that, stop signs, all that good stuff, and you got arrested, and you know now you have your not sentencing, but your preliminary. Excuse me. They're asking you if you're innocent, guilty. You say I'm innocent. They say bail. Well, reckless driving, luckily there was nobody hurt, things like that. So the bail should not be $500 million. That's outrageous. Granted, person could have hurt somebody with intoxicated and things like that, but still, that's way, way too high for uh, driving under the influence. You know, so the crime and the bail should be equal. If it's a low crime, low bail. If it's a high crime, high bail, or no bail at all. The next part, nor excessive fines imposed. So I'm sure you guys, I have done it too in the past when I was younger. Jaywalking, right? Across the street, where there's not the little path thing. If a cop arrests, pulls you over and says, "Hey, I saw you jaywalking. Here's your ticket." Your ticket should not be $50,000 for jaywalking. That's excessive fines. That's like, whoa, that's way too much for something so minute, you know? So, yeah, that's what they mean. And the last one, cruel and unusual punishments. So some things like, I heard some people say, hey, um, I was in a prison cell, this, so big, and yeah, that was torture. That was cruel and unusual punishment. Mm. What's cruel and unusual punishment is things where they used to do where they put, like, I can't remember if it's Chinese or Japanese. One of them used to get bamboo sticks and put in their people's fingernails and, like, push it to the point where the nail would pop up. You know, in some Latin American countries during revolutionary times when they need to get information, um, what they some people would do is, I don't know if you know how the skin works. You would have your skin, layer of fat, and then your muscle. So right between there, these guys would get razors and start cutting. So that the skin and fat being basically peeled, and what's exposed is your muscle. And yeah, that was torturous. That's torture. And then they would just leave it open. So yeah, that's torture. That's what they're talking about. Okay. Now, the Ninth and 10th Amendment, these are what I call TARP amendments. So if you don't know what a TARP is, a TARP is basically a cover for something, for the back of a truck, things like that, or for bushes or whatever. That's a TARP. So, number 9 says the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. What does that mean? Basically saying whatever rights are not mentioned in the Constitution, it doesn't mean you don't get it. Because you have to remember these guys who wrote this Bill of Rights, they're very smart men, but they knew they're not going to think of everything. Because if they tried to, we would have not just 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights, we would have 720 some, or more, you know. So that's why they said this. So a good example would be like voting. From the past 2 videos, including this one, have you heard me say anything about voting? No, right? Does that mean you don't have the right to vote? No, you have the right to vote, absolutely. But just because it's not mentioned in the Constitution doesn't mean you don't have that right. And that's what number 9 says. Okay. The 10th Amendment, last one, guys. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited to it, or prohibited by it, to the states are reserved to the state respectively or to the people. So again, if it's not mentioned, it can get it, you the people. But also, if it's not mentioned that the federal government has these rights, has these powers, then it goes to the states. So a great example is like driver's license. When we get a driver's license, we get it from the state or the federal government? No, right? We get it from the state we're in. California, Nevada, Texas, New Mexico, whatever. Thing is, the state is basically saying this person knows enough to drive, they know enough to be uh, good drivers on the road, and we basically vouch for them. That's what your driver's license says. So if you go from California to New York and you're driving around and you go through like Kansas, they cannot stop you saying, well, your license is no good here. No, 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 no. 10th Amendment. Every state has that right, and they have to be observed by all the states. Same thing with stuff like marriages. I don't know if you've ever been to a marriage at the ceremony, but the person who weds them, who marries them, typically says, now the power vested in me in the state of California or Nevada or whatever, I pronounce you la 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 la. Why do they say that? Power vested in me in the state of, because the state are the ones that issue marriage license. So in some states, they say no, only man, woman. Some states say you can marry whoever you want. Okay, because each state is different. Each state recognizes marriages differently. So that's why when you do get married, you sign a wedding certificate, basically showing proof that, hey, I am married to this person, even if you did move to another state. Your marriage is not like, oh, we don't recognize it because you got married in California, not here in, you know, Illinois. No, every state recognizes it. Okay. So here's my question to you. Do you think bail, remember when people commit a crime before their trial, they're able to get out of jail, especially if it's something not severe like murdering millions of people, or hundreds of people, or even tens of people? Do you think bail should be based off the crime, or should it be based on the person's income or the value of their property, things like that? So if they own a business, should it be like a percentage of that, or should it be based on the crime? And tell me, why do you believe that? Okay. So once you finish with this question, you're done with this lesson. So good job. Way to go. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. All right. So you guys, you take care. You be safe. I'll see you guys later. Okay.